Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, we're going to be creating this assignment, task, and exam tracker spreadsheet that comes with a display dashboard, which is what we're looking at here. This video is a part of my dashboard series, so if you haven't seen any of those videos, I will leave a link with a playlist in the description box so you can go ahead and check it out. Here is the checklist for today's video. We'll start with a template overview and then go through the steps that we need to create the entire template. Let's take a look at the setup tab first. These are drop downs that we're going to need to select when we're entering data into the database. And here we have our database. It's a very basic table and it's created like this intentionally because we already have a dashboard where we're going to create all the charts, graphs, and summary tables that we need. This is purely going to be used to collect data. And by data, I mean entering in your tasks, your assignments, and your exams. All right, and then finally here we have the dashboard. We have different sections for this dashboard and we're going to be creating this entire thing from scratch. But just a quick overview of what we're going to be able to see in this dashboard. We have this top area that displays things like the number of assignments due this week, overdue, completed, and then information for the month and for the year. And then here we have a very useful table, which is going to display the assignments that are due. Okay, and you can filter by date and by course. So if you want to see all your assignments due, it's listed here. If you want to see it based on a course, you can select the course and it displays the information for a course. Here are some summary charts. If you want to focus on all the exams that are due within a specific time period, it will display it here. And then finally here we have an area that summarizes your course grade. So very simple, but I think very useful dashboard. So that's what we're going to be creating today from scratch. Back to our checklist. We've completed the overview. We're going to start with creating this setup tab right here. The first step would be to start with a blank sheet. So I'm adding a blank sheet here. And I'm going to rename this setup 2. All right, so that's to be able to differentiate it from setup 1. So you can name it whatever you want, but what I do recommend is using the same tab names, rows, column, and ranges that I am using. And this is because if you're going to be using my formulas, it's going to be easier to make it work without any errors. What you can do later on is once your formulas work and you've completed the entire template, you can rename it whatever you want and your formulas would adapt automatically. All right, so what I like to do with my new tabs is I select the entire thing. I like to change the font to the one I like to use and I change the alignment like so. And then what I do next is remove the excess rows and columns. So if we go here, you can see that I have it going from A to L and from 1 to 20. So I'm going to do the same thing here. So everything after L will be removed. So right click and delete, and I'm going to select from 21 all the way down, all right, and then delete that. So that way I have a smaller canvas to work with. The next thing I'm going to do is select the first column and the right column, right click, resize that to 30, and then select all the rows, 1 to 20, resize, and make that 30 as well. All right, so we have a border around the table area. And then if we go back here, you can see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tables, and the third table has 2 columns. So we're going to do the same thing here. Here's the first table, the second one, the third table. The third one has 2 columns, the fourth and the fifth. Resize them, make them 200. All right, and then you can decide to make them wider or narrower depending on the content in each table. And then we're left with these cells right here. All right, these columns in between our tables, we're going to resize them to 30. All right, so next we're going to put a border around each table. So I'll start by selecting the first table area, go to borders, do border, and then do a border around the header area. So this is where the header is going to go, and here's where the content is going to go. Select this area without the header cell, go back to border and do horizontal borders. But I don't want this dark color, so I'll go back to my color area, change it to this gray color, and I'm also going to change the style of the line to this one. So here's what it looks like. It's harder to see because we still have the grid line on. Once we turn that off, it should be easier to see. Next, I'm going to apply colors to the template so it looks like this. And to do so, you can easily select the cell you want and apply color from this area or however way you want to apply color. What I do like to do is use this area right here. So I like to put all the colors that I want to use in this area and then select it directly from here because this allows me to be able to change the colors globally if I choose to. So let me show you what I mean by that. Let's say for this template, I'm going to use this green color. And then in this area, I'm going to apply this color. So it looks exactly like what I have here. But let's say I change my mind. I want to use a different color palette. Instead of changing the color by going here and select a different color, what I'm going to do is go back to the custom color. And here is where you can change the color theme. And that's how I got to this color theme that I'm using. You can click done and here are all the color themes that are available to use. I selected this one, and you don't have to use all the colors that comes with this color theme. What's more important is that you are selecting a color theme. So you can select whatever you want, do customize, and you can change the colors here or use the ones that have already been provided by Google. A lot of the themes are actually pretty good. Or if you want to use something completely different, you're welcome to change this color. So to change a color, you would click here, change it to whatever color you want. You can even pull in different color X codes by introducing the X code here, or use the color picker option and select the colors from the image. All right, so it doesn't matter if you don't like the colors that come with the themes, you can change it to whatever you want. What is important, however, is using the theme colors in that custom area. So now let's say I don't want this accent 6 color anymore. This is the green color that I selected here. Let's say I do want that purple color. So now I can select the purple color from here and look at what happens. It changes it here. Let's also change the background color. Let's say instead of that, I want to use a gray color. So let's select this one and I'm going to click done. And now it changes it here. But even more importantly, if I go back to this tab, it changes it here as well. So that way, if you want to make the template and then later on figure out what colors you want to go where, you can easily change it without having to change it in every single part of the template. So that's why I like to use the custom color. So I'm going to go back and make sure that the colors are the ones I want. And now that I have created this table, select it and then go to the paint format. So click on that icon and just paste it here. All right. And I'm going to do the same. I'm going to do it twice for this area and then select these two for the last two, paint and paste it here. So now I essentially have my entire template done. For this middle table, select the two header areas and merge it. And then I'm going to change this harsh border here to a dotted line. So select either one of the tables back here and it's in the dotted line already. So all we have to do is select the right border. And now it looks like this. Now that the table outline is done, we can remove the grid line. So go to view, show and click grid line. And now here's what it looks like. Pretty similar to what we have here. So for this table here, the drop downs we're going to be creating. So here's where you display the name of your courses or the actual course ID. The next one is type. So the type of task that you have to complete. So it could be exam, homework, lab report, quiz, presentation, etc. Next, we have the actual name of the assignment. So if the category is exam, here would be exam 1, exam 2, midterms, finals, and the different types of homework. So you can use the actual name of the assignment so it's easier for you to recognize. Next, we have the status. So has it been completed? Is it in progress? Have you not started? And here is where you can add your letter grade. And you can add whatever grade option works for you because every school has its own system. Add whatever one works for your specific institution. Next, I'm going to copy these names. And if you don't want to use these names that I'm using, go ahead and name it whatever you want, something that you recognize. But for this example, I'm going to be using the exact same information. So I'm pasting values only so that I can have the exact name showing up here. Now going back here, I'm going to copy the example here as well. And I'm going to paste it in my setup tab. What you can do is either use placeholders or if you already know what you're going to be placing in your template, go ahead and place it there as well. All right, we have completed the setup tab. Let's check that off in our checklist. Next, we're going to work on the database table. Like we did before, click on Add Sheet, rename this assignment tracker database 2. And then I'm going to do the same thing I did before, which is select the entire thing and just change it globally. So changing my font style and the alignments. And then I'm going to remove the excess rows and columns. So back to the example, we're going to remove everything after K for the columns, and for the rows, we actually don't need to make any changes because we want to be able to put in as many tasks and assignments as possible. Back here, select from L all the way down, delete, select column A and K, resize that to 30. And I'm going to select all of the rows all the way down to 1,000, resize that to 30 as well. All right. And here is where our table is going to go. So here's our header. So put a border around it and a border around the rest of the table. So go all the way down to 1,000 and here's our table border. I do want some internal horizontal borders. So I'll select that. And I don't want this harsh border style. So go back to border, change it to this color and this dotted line. All right. Back to the top. Now go ahead and add whatever colors you want. I will be adding colors from this custom palette. All right, so far so good. So back to our example. Now what I'm going to do is copy these headers. So before I copy these headers, I want to explain what each of them represents. First is a number. The next is the course ID. So we talked about that already in our setup tab. We have our assignment name, so the exact name of the assignment that you're trying to track. And you can put this in whatever order you want. So if you want this to come before here, you can do so. But I would recommend that you keep it in this order for now. When you are done with your template and all of your formulas work, you can change the locations of your columns easily. Okay, you just need to drag it to where you want it, and then the formulas would adapt automatically. But keep the order exactly how I have it so that your formulas work without any issues. So we have our assignment name, assignment type. So we talked about this already in the setup tab, and we have the start date. This could be the date you're adding the assignment to the tracker, or it could be the date you want to start working on the assignment. What is important and what we're going to be using to calculate lots of the data in the dashboard is the due dates. So the dates that either the test is scheduled for, the exam is scheduled, or that the assignment is due. The next one is the assignment status. So is it in progress, completed, not started, etc. We have our course grade, and the last column is for notes. So if you want to add additional information related to that specific task, you can do so here. All right, so now I'm going to copy these and paste it right here. Next, we're going to adjust and format this table. I'll start by adjusting the size. Feel free to adjust it based on your needs. This is not going to affect the formulas in any way, so adjust it to make sure it works for you. What I am going to do with the header though is select it and wrap the text so it's able to fit information better. You can see here that part of the header is cut off. So I'll select that entire row and make it 35, and the text should fit a little bit better. All right, so back to our first column. It is a number column. We don't have to do any type of special formatting here. When you're entering data here, you'll just type in the number like so. Next is the course ID. This is going to be a drop down. To create our drop down, go to data validation, click on add rule. All right, it's going to automatically apply a rule here, but we need to change that. So first we're going to change the range. So click on this select data range icon. We need to apply it to column C, but not all of column C. You need to start from column C3 all the way down to C1000. So what we can do is either type 1000 here, or we can remove the number. And if we remove the number, it automatically selects everything all the way down, including new rows that we add. So I prefer to do it this way. Click OK. Now change the criteria to drop down from range. Select the icon to select the data range. Go to our setup tab, and we're going to select the course ID right here. So from B3 to B19, go to advanced options and change the style of your dropdown. I will leave it as a cheap style for now and click done. Next is the assignment name. Select a few cells here, click on add rule, and then here in the data range, I'm going to remove the row number 9 so it automatically selects everything. Drop down from range, click on the icon, back to our setup tab. Here's the assignment name. Select this entire range right here. Click OK and done. Next is the assignment type. Same thing. Add role. Remove the row number. Click OK. Drop down from range. Click on the icon to select the range. Here's the assignment type, so select everything. Done. And by the way, you can test these to make sure they work exactly how they're supposed to. And these look fine. We're going to do these two columns together because they're both date columns. We're going to create the date picker option such that when we double click in the cell, the little calendar shows up and we're able to select the dates that we need. So select both columns, just a few rows. Add rule. We'll do the same thing. Remove the last row number. Click OK. Changes from drop down to is valid dates. All right. And for advanced options, we can check this box so it shows you a helpful text to enter valid dates. Reject the inputs. It forces us to enter a date in this area. Click done. Now when we double click, you can see that the date picker option shows up. You can take this a step further by reformatting the dates. I'm going to select both of them to change the formats. So go to Format, Number, Custom Date and Time, and here are several different options that would show up. I'm going to use this option right here. So the abbreviated version of the month, the date, and the year. Click on this and apply, and now it displays the dates in this format. All right, so next is the assignment status. It's going to be the same drop down. All right, the last column is for notes. We don't have to do anything special here because all we need to do is to type in information as needed in this section. The last thing I want to do is add a filter. So if we look at this table, you see that it has these filter icons next to it. It's useful because it will allow you to filter any single column based on the information you want displayed. So let's say you only want to see information related to exams. Click on that filter, clear, and select exam. Click OK. Now it only displays your exam. You can do this for whatever column you want displayed in the table. So for our table, we're going to apply the filter. You can apply the filter by selecting just the header and clicking this icon, create a filter, and you can see that it applies a filter here. And as you add in more data, the table expands. What I like to do is make sure it's applied to the entire table at once. So I'm going to remove this filter, select the entire table all the way down to 1000, and then apply the filter. All right. Our final step would be to add in our placeholder data. So I'm going to copy the placeholder data here to save time. And then you can go ahead and add whatever placeholder data you want to use, or if you already have some data that makes sense for your template, go ahead and apply it now. I'm just going to paste the data here. Everything should work fine because I'm using the exact same information from the drop downs. If you wanted to take it a step further, let's say you want to apply colors, we can go to any of the drop downs here and just apply colors. So we can apply these colors. So whatever color you want to assign to each category, click done, apply it to all of them. And here's what it looks like. You could do the same for assignment status. And here's what it would look like. All right, so go back to our checklist. We've created our table. We can check this off. And we have added our data validation rules. So we can check this off as well. Next, we're going to start working on our dashboard. We'll first create the dashboard structure. Then we'll add our graphs, charts, and formulas, etc. We'll start by adding a new sheet. This is going to be dashboard 2 and clean it up like we normally do. We're not going to need anything after column P. And for the row, this is an expanded area. So I'm going to expand this. So it goes all the way down to 63. Right, so that's what it looks like now. And then select column A, column P, right click, make this 30. Select all of the rows all the way down to 63, right click, make those 30 as well. Here's what it looks like. All right, so back to our dashboard, and we're going to work on this section right here. But before we do so, I want to create these spacers that we have right here in between each section, and also modify the size of these sections. So we have our first two columns. We have a wider column and a narrow column here. These two columns here are the same size. And then we have the same thing here, a wide column, a narrow column, and a wide and a narrow column. And we have the columns in between that are spacer columns. So do the same thing first. Let's create a spacer column. We have a spacer column after every two wide columns. So these two are wide columns, and this is the spacer column. Select all of them, make it 30. This is a wider column, so this would be 275, and this is 125. All right, and these two columns together are 400. To make sure that everything looks even, we're going to apply the same overall size to each section. So we want this wide and we want this narrow, but for these two, we want them to be exactly the same. We're going to resize these together, make this 200, and then do the same for this. Make it 200. So this is 200, this is 200, which makes this section 400. This is 275 and 125 makes this section 400. So overall, they're the same size, even though the columns are different sizes. And then for these would be the exact same thing. These two would be 275 because they're both wide columns. And then these columns, these last two, so this one and this one, this would be 125. Now we can go back here and work on this section right here. This is a rectangle with 2 columns and 3 rows for all of them. So we're just going to do the same thing here. So here is where the rectangle is going to go, 2 columns, 3 rows, put a border around it. And I'm going to add a color here. So add whatever color you want from color palette. Next, I'm going to merge this area here because we're going to add our text here. And here's where we're going to add a formula. Select the 2 columns and merge it. Now, instead of repeating the steps for each section here, we can select this range, use the paint format and paste it here like so, and then do one more. So the entire top area is done. So back to our dashboard. All right, so this part is done. We will add the text and the formula that goes in each section later on. Next, we'll work on this table right here, and I'm going to expand it to show you that it goes all the way down, right? Before we create this table, let's talk about what this table represents. This table is going to filter your assignments by due dates and by course name. These are date picker options. So if we double click that, we can select a date. And here is a drop down at the course name. So you can select whatever course you want, and this filter would adapt automatically. If you leave it blank, it displays all of them. Back here, this is where the table is going to go. So select it all the way down, put an outline. So the first one is going to be our header. So put a border there. And the next two are our dates columns. So put a border around them. And another drop down right here. And here's where the column label is going to go. So another border around there. All right, so now let's add our date picker options here and here. Select both cells, data validation, add rule. Change it from drop down to is validate, just like we did before. Reject the inputs and check this box clicked on. So now we can select our dates. And of course, you can take it a step further by changing the formats and custom date and time. And you can select this one that we did before. The only thing I'm going to do different is change the month from the abbreviation because we have enough space to display it as a full month name. Click that and click apply. And now you can see that when we select the dates, the calendar shows up and we can select the dates that way. And here is going to be start dates and end dates. You can adjust the formatting to whatever you want. I'm going to do right justification here and then left justification. Here's going to be our drop down. So we'll add data validation, or you can go directly here and insert drop down. It's going to be the same thing. Change it to drop down from range, select the range, go to our setup tab. Now you can select it from the course ID here if you want, or you can go directly to your task database and select it from the courses here. The advantage of selecting it from the courses here is that it's only going to display courses that you have already entered an assignment for. But if you select it from the setup tab right here, it will display it in the drop down even though you haven't attached that course to an assignment. It's really up to you however way you want it. I will select it from the setup tab just to keep it consistent with what I have already done. And I'm going to change the style. So click an advanced option, and instead of this chip style, I will use the arrow, click done. And now I can select the course from here. And of course, nothing is going to happen now because we haven't added any of the formulas. Type select course and change this to left justified. All right. And then back here, this is going to be assignment / course name and due date. So we'll just type those there. Here is the header for the table. So select these two cells, merge them, and add your header title. All right. And go ahead and add whatever colors you want. I will add colors from my color palette. All right. So back here, what we want to do is add this option to collapse the table. Now you see how you have the option to select the dates here. What this would allow you to do is display all the courses that are due within a certain date. So if you have a long list of assignments, you have the option of expanding this just to view it. And then you can collapse it when you don't need to display the long list of assignments. So that's why this is created like that. All right, so back here, select from 31 down to the end of the table, go to view, group rows 31 to 61. All right, so when we click on this, now it only displays the shortened version of the table. The one thing we have to change is the formats in right here. When we collapse the table, we want this border to show. Back here, we don't have the border. So here's what we're going to do. So go all the way down, select these two cells at the bottom of the table, go to borders, change it to no borders. One more time, back to border, now change it to our border color. What we want to use now, we're going to apply top border. Now, when we go back here and we close the cell, you can see now it shows up like this. All right, so this section is done. Next, we're going to work on this section right here. This is going to be a long rectangle for this column chart and 2 squares for our pie charts. First, we'll create this one right here from row 6 to 17. So select 6 to 17, put our outer border and our header border, and then merge the header area and merge where the chart's going to go. So select the entire area and merge. So here's where the header is going to go and here's where the chart's going to go. Go ahead and add whatever color you want from your color palette. Okay, so let's work on this charts right here. All right, so we have it going from 19 to 30. So do the same thing. Select the entire range. First, add our outer borders and the header border, merge the header section and merge the area where the chart's going to go. So it looks like this. Go ahead and add whatever colors you want. Okay, and I'm going to add colors from my color palette. All right, I want this to be exactly like this. So select the entire range, use paint format, paste it here. All right, so back here, the section is done. We'll come back and add our charts later on. Next, we're going to work on this section. It's a very similar table to what we have here, right? So we have our header for the table. We have dates picker options right here that says start and end dates. With our course selection, and we have the table right here. The difference between these two tables is that this is going to filter all your assignments, which is why you have the option to expand it because it can be a long list, and this is going to focus on just your exams. But as far as the structure goes, they're exactly the same. So to save time is we're going to copy this table, select this entire area and paste it here. Select the last section here, add a bottom border, and everything else is the same except for the title, of course. So we're going to change this to exam dates. All right, so this last section here is going to focus on your final course grade. One thing that I did not mention in our database is that we have the option of entering just the course grade. Back to our setup tab for a second, you can see that one of the options here is to enter a final course grade. This will say final course grade. And what it's going to allow you to do is to enter in your course grade. Back here, let's say for our chemistry course, Chem 201, we have completed all our assignments and we have taken our final exam. We have our final grade. And then here we're going to type in course grade. It's sort of like a placeholder to allow us to summarize it in our database. We're going to freeze this row here so we don't have to scroll all the way to the top all the time. This is how we're going to freeze our row. So just drag the line from the top all the way down. So now we can scroll and we can easily enter in what needs to be entered. So here's going to be assignment type. Here's going to be final course grade as well. You can add the start dates. The start date is not as important. The due date is going to be when you receive the course grade. So let's say we receive this at the end of the semester. So put somewhere in December and we can mark it as completed, of course. And let's give ourselves an A. The difference between this and this would be this grade is tied to this assignment or course or homework or exam, and this one is tied to the final course grade. All right, so now when we go here, you can see that this displays all your course grades within a specific period. And if you want to display the grades by course, you can do so as well. This section right here, just based on structure alone, is exactly the same as this section right here. So we're going to save time by just copying the section. And this is going to be from row 15 to row 18. So let's do that. We'll copy these 4 rows and paste it right here. And change this from assignment name to course name. Back here, we're going to create a structure for this chart and then the rest of the table. So here is where the header of the chart is going to go. So add a border, merge it, and here's where the chart's going to go. So do the same, add a border, merge. All right. And for the rest of the table, add a border around it. We're going to do internal borders as well. So add your internal borders. I'm changing it to this lighter color and a dotted line to keep it consistent with the rest of the tables. Go ahead and add whatever colors you want based on your color palette. I'm just going to add color from my color palettes. All right, so now that the general structure is done, click on view and remove grid lines. And here's what it's looking like. Back to our checklist. Here's where we are. We've finished the dashboard structure. Now we're going to work on adding our formulas, and then we'll add our graphs and charts and we'll be done. So we'll start with our formulas first. Let's go to our dashboard. We'll work on it section by section. We'll start with this section here. I'll explain what the formulas are and then we'll work on adding each of them to our templates. First is the total number of assignments due this week. Next is overdue assignments, completed assignments this week, so you can keep track of the assignments that you have completed for the current week. the assignments you have completed for the current month and the assignments you have completed for the entire calendar year. So it just gives you an idea of what you've done, your accomplishment, and what you need to do. So before we add the formulas, we're going to just copy these headers. All right, so go ahead and use the same ones that I am using. All right, you can always pause the video, go through each one, all right, and add them to your dashboard. I'm just gonna paste them here, and then I'll adjust the size of the text. Select row 2 and make it 8, and I'm gonna place the text at the bottom of the row. So it looks like this. Back here, we're going to start with this one first. So here is the formula. It's a counting formula. What it's doing is going to look at column G, which is where we have our dates, and is going to compare it to current week. And it will determine the current week using this weekday formula. And then it's going to count the number of assignments in column B. And then finally, it will omit the assignments that have been marked as completed. So if the assignment is due, but you have already done it, it's not going to count it, which should make sense. So what we're going to do is copy this formula. Back here, I'm going to paste the formula here. Now I am going to change this formula to assignment tracker database 2. But if you are copying and pasting this formula, you don't need to do this step because it should already have the correct sheet number. Or if you are not using the sheet numbers that I am using here, so let's say your sheet or your tab has a different name. So if you're not using assignment tracker database 2, you can change the name in this area right here to the name of your tab, and then the formula should work. So I have adjusted the formula. Everything else should be the same because I'm using the exact same location for these two different tabs. All right. And then now I can hit enter and it says 0, which is expected because we don't have any assignments that we have assigned to be due this week. So we're going to change that. Before I do that, I want to change the formatting. Selecting these two rows, I want the size to be 24 and bold. All right, because I want the number to pop when it shows up here. So we have 0 assignments due this week. Let's go to our database and change that. Here's the week. Today's date is the 31st. So we want it to be based on dates this week. So let's add one for Monday, July 28th. The next one, we could add it for Tuesday, so the 29th. And let's add one for tomorrow, which is the 1st of August. So right here. So we have 3. And now what we're going to do is make sure that it's not completed because we want it to say 3 assignments are due this week. So I'll change it to in progress. All right, so now when we go here, it should display 3 assignments. So 3 assignments due this week. All right, and if we change this one that's in progress to completed, actually let's change this to completed. Now it should only say 1 that's due this week, and that is correct. One more thing before we move on to the next one is in this formula right here, this one represents the week start day. So if your week starts on Sunday versus your week starts on Monday. If you go by your weekday starting on Sunday, you can leave this as 1. But if you want to go by your weekday starting on Monday, change this from 1 to 2. All right. So let's work on the next formula right here. And this is for overdue assignments. So it's the same formula. The only difference is that it's going to look at the due dates right here in column G, and it's going to look at the dates that are less than today, the number of assignments in column B, and of course, if the assignment is not completed. All right, so that's all the formula is doing. So we're going to copy the formula, paste it here. I'm changing it to match the name of the database that I am currently using. You can change yours if your database is not called assignment tracker database, and then hit enter. So we have one overdue assignment. So if we go here, we have one assignment that is overdue and that is not completed. Remember, if it's marked as completed, then it no longer shows up. If it's not completed and it's overdue, it's going to count it as 1. So we only have 1. So let's say this is the 29th, today is the 31st. Let's change this from completed to in progress. Now this should say 2 assignments that are overdue. So the formula works the way it's supposed to, and you can actually change the text color to red if you want, just to make it pop. We'll work on the next section. This is for completed assignments. So you want to see all the assignments you have completed this week, and the next one is for this month, and the next one is for this year. So it's going to be the exact same formula. We're just changing the period that's being counted. So here's the formula. It's also a count if formula, looking at the dates in column G, pulling it based on the week. If you are a Monday weekday person, change this from 1 to 2. This is for Sunday starts. It's looking at your task database, and it's looking at the task that has been marked in column H as completed. All right. So now we're going to copy this, drop it here. And again, I'm changing the database just to match the current one that I am using. Hit enter, and it should say 1 task completed this week, which makes sense because if we go here, this is this week and it has 1 task completed. If I change all of them to completed for this week, now it should say 3 tasks completed. The next one is going to be for this month. And if you look at the formula, it's the same one, slightly different structure, but you can see that now instead of referencing this week, it is looking at this month and this year in column G, and looking at assignments that have been marked as completed in column H. So copy the formula. Here's where it's going to go. All right, hit enter. So we have 2 assignments completed this month. And the last one is the assignments completed this year. All right, the same thing. It's a counted formula. And now it's focusing on the current year based on the dates in column G for assignments that have been completed. All right, so paste that. And we have 30 assignments that have been completed this year. Okay, so this top section is done. Next, we're going to work on the formula that goes in the table. So start with this one. Here's the formula. It's a sort filter formula. It's going to filter column D. Column D has the assignment name. And then it's going to put the course name in parentheses, which is column C, and in the next column is going to add the due date from column G. It's going to look at cell B7 and B8, which contains the start date and the end date. So it's comparing that to the date in G. So it's only going to filter entries within the date we have selected here. And then we have a filter here for course name. So course name is in B9. So if we select a course name, it will display only the assignments attached to that course name. And if B9 is blank, it shows everything. And then finally, it's going to look at column H and only filter the assignments that have been completed and then sort based on the due date. That's what the formula is going to do. So copy that and paste it here. All right, and I'm changing the names here to database 2. So here's where you can change yours if your database name is different. So if your database name is already database 2, you don't need to do anything. But if it's different, make sure that it matches what is in your formula. So this name here should match what is in your formula. All right, so everything looks good. All right, now I'm going to hit enter. And here's what it looks like. So you can see that it is sorting based on due dates. I'm going to bold this and select the first column all the way down and left justify. So it looks like this. So here's what it looks like. All right, so let's give it a quick test. First, I'm going to remove the course. So now you can see we have a really long list, and you can see why we have this expanded table option right here, because we have a really long list of assignment from July 8th to September 30th. If we shorten that list, so let's change this to the end of August. So we have a shorter list, and then we can collapse this table because we don't need it to display everything. So this gives you a little bit of flexibility to work with a long list or a short list. To make the list even shorter, you can filter by whatever course you want, and it only displays the assignment for the course. If it says not applicable here, it's because we don't have an assignment within this range for this course. So let's change it to something else. Let's say the next one, we have 3 assignments. So if you don't want it to display like this, not applicable with this error message, when you don't have a course, you can enter an if error. Double click in the cell with the formula, right next to the equal sign, type if error, parentheses, scroll all the way down to the end of the formula, and then we're going to enter double quotations and close the parentheses. All right, so here's what it looks like. And you can add some text here. So if you want to say none, for example, you add it within the parentheses, and when you hit enter, now it says none. If you don't want it to say anything and just let it be blank, you can delete that and click enter, and then it's blank. So if we remove the course, it displays all the courses with assignment within that range. And if we select a course that has nothing, it just shows up as blank. For some reason, we have our dates not showing up correctly here. So let's change that. Select the entire due date column, format, number, chooses date style, and now it should look like this again. All right, and now this table is done. Next, we'll work on this table here. It's the exact same formula we used before. The only difference is that we're adding an additional criteria here. You can see right here, it's looking for exam. It has to be an exact match with what we have now. Database in column E, we have exact word exam. If you're using a different word, make sure you change it in the formula as well. The same thing applies to completed, right? We're using completed because that's what we have added here in our drop down, right? Completed. And that's the same thing we have shown up here in column H. So if you're using something different, make sure that the word that you're using in your table matches what is in your formula, because that is what the formula is going to be looking for when it looks through these columns. All right, so we're going to copy the formula and paste it here. And of course, change the name if your tab name is different. Database 2, make sure it's changed in every single area. Hit enter, and like we did before, let's just change the formatting here. Select this column, left justified, and make this bold. All right, so for this date range for this course, we have finals for this course, September 2nd. If I remove the course name, you can see it shows a longer list. So this table is done. Next, we're going to work on this table right here. Here's what the formula looks like. It's a sort filter formula as well. So we're going to filter column C, which has the course name, then display the grade in column I. All right. Now it's also restricting what is being filtered by dates. So we have the start date and the end date here, N15 and N16. It's also looking at N17, so we can filter by course that you have selected. And then finally, it's going to look in column E. And remember, it's looking for the final course grade, because this table is only going to display the final course grade that you entered. So it's not displaying any of the grades that you have earned for an exam or a midterm or exam 1 or exam 2. No, it's only going to display the final course grade, and you have to enter it that way, like I already showed you. And the formula is going to look for the word final course grade, and it's going to display it in this table. All right, so let's copy the formula, paste it here. All right, and I'm changing the database name like I have done previously. All right, and then hit enter. And now you can see for this date range for this course, I have a course grade of B. So let's change this actually from date to course grade. Select both of them and make it bold. Select this column, left justified. So for this course, here's our final course grade. If we delete the course name, it shows all of our courses and all of our final grades. Let's add a few more. So let's change this to final course grade, give ourselves a C here, and let's do one more. Change this to final course grade and make this an E. All right, and now if we go back here, now you see we have 4 outputs that look like this. And that's what we're going to use to create the graph here. All right, so let's go back to our checklist. We have completed the areas in our dashboard with formulas. Check it off. And next we'll add our graphs and wrap things up. Before I do that, I want to talk about my Patreon. If you're a member of my Patreon, you will get a copy of the template that we're creating today. Not only that, you will get copies of the template that I have created in the past. And this is another way to support me, and it allows me to create more of this type of tutorials and templates. If you're interested in becoming a Patreon member, there's a link in the description box so you can go ahead and check it out. Okay, so back here, we're going to add these 4 charts. We'll start with the first one, which is the course ID. And this is a distribution of assignments per course. So here we have our course names and the number of assignments in this course. This is going to display all of the courses and all of the assignments, regardless of the dates and status. Everything in the database is going to be displayed here. All right, so we're going to insert our chart here. Normally what I do is click here and do insert chart, but for some reason it's not working today, even if I use the icon here or click on inserts and charts. So there might be a glitch with the system today. But what I noticed that when I click here and do the same thing, insert charts, it works. So that's really strange. So hopefully you don't have that problem when you're making yours, because it doesn't normally do this. So the chart's going to go here, but before we resize it and put it in that space, we're going to select a range that goes into the charts. So to do this, click on the select data range icon, go to our database. We want it to be from column C. All right, so just select that. And I usually select a few rows and remove the row number so it selects everything all the way down automatically. So we're doing the same thing here. Click OK. And then now nothing's going to show up until we check the box that says aggregates. Now that we do that, you can see the different courses and the number of assignments in this course. Now what we can do is double click, remove the background and remove the border. All right, because I don't need that. And then we can change the color here. So click on this. Now it shows you the fill color option that it has chosen automatically. Change it to whatever you want. I'm going to go with this one. And then now I can resize it into the space. If you want the number to display here, like I have here, so you see how I have numbers showing up here, double click to open it up one more time. Go to customize, open up series and click on data labels. So click on the checkbox next to data labels. You can change the position to outside in, so it shows up like this. Okay, so next I'm going to copy this chart. Since I'm having an issue with my insert chart icon, I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste it here, resize it into this space. And then we're going to change the data that is being displayed here. So let's go back to our dashboard for a second. This is going to be assignment type. It's going to give you a summary of the different types of assignments based on what you have entered in column E. So back here, what we can do is just edit charts, click on the select data range. Instead of column C, now we're going to be looking at column E. So change the range here. So anywhere we had C before, change it to E and click OK. And then change the chart style to pie, click on customize, go to legend, change it to left, and it displays it like so. All right, and then we can do the same thing. We can copy these charts, paste it here, and this is going to be the assignment status. So actually I'm just going to copy these headers now and paste them here. All right, so we have the assignment type. Next we want the assignment status. The assignment status is in column H. So go back here, edit this chart. So instead of E, we want column H displayed. So change it from E to H in both areas. Click OK, and now it displays the assignment status. So these graphs are done. The last chart here, this one, is going to display a summary of the grades we have in this section. So do the same thing, copy charts, paste it right here, and just push it into the space and edit charts, change the range. Now we have to change the entire range, so delete the information in the space, select this one right here, click OK. For this one, I want to use labeled instead of left, so change it to labeled, and then we can close this. And then now you can see it displays a summary of the grades we have here. And the entire dashboard structure is done. So back to our tutorial checklists. I can cross this off. I already talked about my Patreon. The link to check it out will be in the description box below. Before I wrap things up, I want to say thank you so much for sticking around all the way to the end. If you found this useful, please leave a comment in the comment section. You can share this video with someone that you think will find it helpful. And if there's something that you wanted me to add to this template that is missing, let me know. I'm also thinking of creating a calendar that would be based on the information entered into the database. So if that would be something you want, you can let me know and I can create another tutorial that adds a calendar to this template so that you can have your assignments displayed in a dashboard form, and you can have a calendar that shows you a summary of all the assignments that are due in a calendar form. I do have a more comprehensive version of this template for sale, so if you're interested, I will leave a link so you can check it out as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.